Hey, Crime Publishing content followers, viewers, supporters, and listeners. Welcome to part two of what do the new vice and virtue laws in the Middle East mean for women. If you haven't already, you're encouraged to tune in to part one so you can kind of pick up on where I left off when it comes to my commentary, reaction, and opinion to these new law changes in the Middle East pertaining to women. I left off saying that, in my opinion, it pays us to research any geographical region, especially when it's a place that you were not raised or that you are not familiar with before you go there. We cannot preach that too many times. I'm just another voice, right? Especially in a time period of history where the voices are being more and more censored and silenced by the day. We want to remember to keep the utmost respect and uh, just because respect is free, and that's just something I've never understood. But people, boy, they rather die. Some people they rather die than give you that, and that's not your business at the end of the day. All I know is we were all born with a voice. It's funny, people, scientists, and all kind of different herbal therapists and doctors, when it comes to mental health, will sit down and explain these cycles of auras 1,000 times to you. But then we turn around and create laws to chakras and auras, is what I said, right? We'll create laws to sit there and block a whole chakra of somebody. I don't know if I agree with this, but I'm not a leader of the Middle East either. I'm just another voice here to give my commentary, opinions, and things today. But let's give it a new perspective. Why would we teach people that it's seven, however many chakras, right? Even if I don't know everything about it, but I know the voice is supposed to be one of them. My. And so we pass laws and we sit here and ban, or we call ourselves censoring only the voices of women. Well, my question to the Middle Easters on this morning is just like, why, after so much religious history, after so much culturalistic beliefs and everything, are Middle Eastern leaders aware that, for example, suicide amongst women increased since 2021? I'm just pondering on this one fact for a second. As you guys tune in with me this morning, feel free to like this video, give it a share. Crown Publishing Content is still where publishing and marketing creative content meet. You can email us at crowncontently@gmail.com as well, because what I'm about to do is relaunch my promotional segments for entrepreneurs and authors going into 2025. Yes, I've been delayed. And yes, we're still thankful for the support of our subscribers, even through my seasons of setbacks, right? Because in case you're new to the channel, I am the founder and audio host of the Crown Publishing Content YouTube channel, but Crown Publishing Content was started as just like a brand name that I wanted for self-published books for myself, until I learned that I was more than a writer. I'm also a speaker. I'm also just a people's person, and I do care a little bit more than the average person, in my opinion, about humanitarian crises just like these. Well, before we were talking about the women, for example, in Afghanistan, to prove my point, I was always voicing my opinion about how the homeless, for example, in my very own home country, were being handled uh, through the seasons, through pandemics, through different situations, the housing crisis, all of these tied into humanitarian factors and things that affected us all as people. How do I describe it? Indirectly or directly every day, okay? And that's exactly how we say it on our streams. I actually pick topics that I feel like affect us all. Another topic was the P. Diddy situation. It kind of ties into this. And while I'm on the topic, I think I saw through the grapevine that R. Kelly might be getting out of jail. You know what I mean? Why do I say that ties into these topics? Just examples of people who have already been accused or prosecuted for quote unquote oppressing specifically women. Now we know with P. Diddy, it wasn't just women, supposedly. I'm just trying to get this topic out the best I can and keep it respectful, right? Because I'm not here. This topic today is not about P. Diddy, but here it is again. I was saying the influx, the seemingly influx of stories of people or groups of women being oppressed. When does it end? Before Afghanistan or the Middle East was even being discussed, y'all. I felt like I almost seen it easing its way, you know, just because you sit there and try to justify why you're oppressing a group of people. Let's go back to the Adolf Hitler time history, period in history, okay? It seems like before the oppression, there's always, I guess, oppressors like to make themselves feel better about why they have chosen who they've chosen to abuse, why they've chosen who they've chosen to silence, why they've chosen who they've chosen to back into a corner. I'm sure if Martin Luther King was here today, people like him, they could definitely speak on this. You know, they were leaders who did the complete opposite and fought for the voices and the faces and the presence of our people, okay? Now, I might not be of the same culture or the same religion as Taliban women and everything, but see, there are some similarities, regardless of how we try to dispute it. There's like a meeting point. I don't care. In my opinion, there's an area where women all over the globe can relate. We can start off with childbirth. We can start off with motherhood. We can start off with being the glue that keeps the family together, literally being that stick of glue, because without that glue, the family is all broken apart. And this is where, in my opinion, women forget to relate to one another. And this, in my opinion, is why we have had so much division in the camp of women rather than actually organizing or planning or being able to defend one another when that time comes too. Because over periods of history, women being oppressed is just not a new story. I just say that I'm tired of kind of hearing it, especially in the era, in the new era. We have way too much technology, way too much medicine, way too much knowledge, access to knowledge. Even in third world countries, they have access to YouTubes and social media. Probably not as accessible as some of us because they don't have like Wi-Fi towers every freaking where like we're used to having the luxuries of, but they do have access to these things. They have access to schooling and things too. Things just might come about more costly. I left off on the last segment saying there was no way that I had not, up to this point, I'm saying before this point, had already considered when those points in my life came about where I felt like, oh my God, what I'm gonna do? Or oh my God, how I'm gonna get through this emotional thing? Or oh my God, how am I gonna heal from this, right? You better believe a part of my soul digging and searching had to do with going outside of myself. Too many times we teach women, or we teach in religious communities, we teach people that the ultimate higher self is going within. I'm just here to dispute that just a little bit or add to it. Well, I feel like a true healing journey or true finding oneself journey would also require them to go outside of themselves. That's the problem here. Going too within, you're too selfish. I don't know what's been happening, but to me, people have been going within and then they just stay stuck with self. I'm saying that's good only to an extent. Because now as you're passing laws, as you're changing things, as you're, you know what I'm saying, calling yourself, oh no, hold on. Uh, okay, I'm back. We had a slight glitch there, but like as you're calling yourself dictating and everything, you're forgetting the people. And this is my opinion about how leadership, it can appear broken, but to actually be broken, because now you're making the laws only outside of yourself, and or you're making the laws that are fitting to you on the inside, but you're not thinking outside of yourself, is what I meant to say. So finding myself as a woman or feeling like a great candidate on this topic had to do with going outside of myself. What do I mean? Well, I went and researched and studied to the best of my ability and even talked to other people in other cultures to learn more about what it meant to be them. How am I find myself and I can't go outside of myself? Finding myself is only a within process. No, you're going to have to look at the world around you at some point. This is just my perspective. For too long, we have taught people how to reach their quote unquote highest potential, higher selves, and stuff like this by just going within. But I also feel like it's just as much of an outside process, or the stronger people, or the ones that make it a little further, did not just do inner perspective, they also examine the environments in the world around them. Okay. To me, the greats did. All the greats, they looked at cultures outside of themselves, and then they went a little deeper, like I did. I didn't want to just look at the cultures and the religions and everything like that. I want to look at, well, how are you treated as a woman over there in your culture, on your side of the globe? What is it like being a mother? On your side of the globe, is child support even an option? On your side of the globe, when you are going without something or you're lacking something, how in the world are you women still surviving? Do you sew your own clothes? Do you make your own bread? A woman like Arthur Tetasheri has already done this type of outer perspective. Seriously. And I feel like I'm willing to continue to keep learning, because having that kind of attitude led me to some of the information I found that I could share with you guys today. The facts are the facts, and laws and mandates and stipulations and things like this vary across the globe. Somebody out there I know is thinking to themselves, what does this have to do with me if I'm not in the Middle East? I'm not a Middle Eastern woman. I'm not you know what I mean? I'm not Muslim. I'm not because I think that's another part of this, the virtue I didn't get to mention on the part one. We were going through a list of what the vice and virtue laws look like for women right now, since this has went into effect. Um, I think I mentioned it though, y'all. That's just crazy. Like, they say they barely leave the wives at home anymore. Let's talk about that for a second. Supposedly, the husbands and the men of the family don't even leave the women alone too long. And not just since this law went into effect, but like I said, statistics say since 2021. And when we go back and think about 2021, that was definitely the pandemic period. And everybody across the globe, I mean everybody, experienced at least a whiff or a gist of the pandemic. So I could only imagine what women were going through over there. You already had the strict laws and things you had to abide by, but on top of that, you had to somehow keep your whole family healthy and safe through a pandemic. They kind of, in my opinion, are facing the same thing. You got viruses still going around. You know, as a woman, the way they're built, they get nothing but respect from Arthur Audio host Tetasheri and the Crown Publishing content family. I'm bringing this topic out today in my own way to show love. To show love. Who are we through oppression? Who are we when we have no voice? Who are we? And then, if that voice was to be restored, because I talk about on my segment a lot of, I try to reverence those um, trailblazers who made things possible for us today. Not just women, but black people, however y'all want to look at it. A lot of things will not be how they were today before the trailblazers. Before, how many of y'all take the time to think about that, especially with what the holiday was yesterday, Labor Day and everything? Do y'all really think about how much people labored, whether it was in the army, whether it was in governmental positions? leadership positions, church positions, priests, and so forth. How much did they go through for things to be like they are today? Well, this is what I think about if I find myself in an oppressive situation. There's no way maybe you can stop the oppression all the time at that moment. You don't know when a person is going to decide, wake up and say, I want to oppress you today. You and your people. You know what I'm saying? But what you can do is keep in mind those who have already triumphed and trailblazed through oppression. Then you begin to study, okay, how did they do it? I just want to give reverence for a second to, I forgot her name. I know her first name. I think it was Ida, Ida, not Ida Wells. Who am I thinking about? Just know it was a woman poet. It was a woman poet who supposedly wrote her way. She gifted her way. She used her gift. It wasn't just her using her gift. If you really look at the story, her particular masters or owners, the people she worked for, her family got sold into, actually took the time to, and this was very rare at that time, and she was a woman at that. I'm giving respect where it's due on this morning. Uh, she went on and had children and stuff later on, but let's just start with that. As a woman, we're not even gonna try to imagine what they could have been going through on plantations in secret. But instead, her owners chose to take the time out to teach her and allow her to study the English literature. She learned how to read and write and ended up being a world renowned, a really well known poetic name, household name to this day. So that's another interest for y'all to go look up. Just she was an American Black poet. Okay, you might be amazed what you learned, but she wrote her way. You know, it showed me you can have the potential to have other countries write your country. Like, look, we like that writer. Your own country don't have to accept you. She was literally her land had went on to even fight during this time. People, the whole thing between the north and the south was going on. You go to the north, you get a job and get more opportunities, and she was literally going through that in her home country. I bet you she still made it out. And her story hurt me at the end, like how it all went down, because that's another thing we have to look at with bondage. It's one thing to be in that bondage, but also know that coming out of a bondage is going to be a task in itself, because you are accustomed to you're used to this. You are literally programmed to bondage. You're programmed to censorship. You're programmed to programming. Okay, you've been taught how you should eat, how you should sit, to say yes, master, and everything right on top, probably for most of your life. And I think that has to be considered, because I know that at this time, women would like to more have a say so in their rights. You know what I'm saying? In the Middle East, it's been like this for a long time. That's why a part of me wanted to title this like law versus religion. Like, what's going on here? Is law attacking religion? Is law trying to seemingly sneak up and creep up? And because I think I seen in Canada, okay, let's start with Louisiana, bringing the commandments, the 10 commandments back into the classroom, it having to be exhibited openly in the classroom. This is a law. This is something, right? I'm not here to compare one or the other. I asked one question here on the segment today. Are laws being shifted in a weird way to like kind of attack certain beliefs, certain freedoms? We are in the new millennium, for crying out loud. Apparently people like the way things were. Now I'm wanting to speak on the truth. I would say if you like the way things are, you show some type of appreciation for that. In my opinion, if you do go back and look at 2021, Afghanistan wasn't the only one going through that. They said they got to the point they weren't leaving their women at home alone anymore because of the increase in suicide rate. That is so sad to me. It's like if you see that, then you see unhappiness, you see darkness, you see depression. Why up the oppression? You know what I'm saying? Why continue to suppress and ignore the cries of the women? So, anyways, even if you have a religious perspective, this is where I do kind of get kind of like, nope, I don't do religion anymore. Anybody can put together, to me, a group of laws for a group of people to follow for generations. Anybody can do that. And then if you have to be in a, I say anybody can do it, but we know that you would need to be a certain stature, certification, and everything to even be in a position to pass laws and do stuff like this, but or write the laws up. So we need those people to have that integrity, that same integrity. That's just my opinion about it. They are fighting at this time for oppressive laws and policies to be immediately reversed to ensure, quote, that the rights deserved of women and girls are met or what they deserve. I wrote it in the words deserve. That's probably not how it was reported, but they probably wrote rights that they are entitled to or something like that. But I would say, yeah, deserve it as a human first. If you gonna silence the women, well, you got to stop teaching about the voice chakra altogether. Because why would that just apply to uh, one sector of one sex of humans? Like to me, that's just my opinion about it. But definitely keeping those women and their what they've been going through for a long time, their burdens as an empath, that you got to be careful, you know what I'm saying, trying to intake the emotions and feelings of everybody at the same time all the time. Uh, it's kind of cool to feel things too, I guess, because like all you got to do, in my opinion, an empath could explain it. Put yourself in somebody's shoes. Like you might can't physically do it, but maybe mentally do it. Go ahead and gear up, buckle those shoelaces up, tie them up, lace them up, and see what somebody's shoes might be like. hmm That's if you're not an empath now and you wanted to even get a taste and see if this is the kind of person that you can see yourself growing into. That's why maybe it's not something you can grow into. You're empath or you're not. And you're not a bad person because you're not an empath. But if you're an empath, you're an empath. And it might be cool sometimes trying to explain to people like, yeah, I felt this. And they're like, oh my God, how did you feel that? Like, that's cool or something like that. But it does come with burdens too. Because you're feeling things like, wow, I feel like in this life I done felt emotions that's the reason I was going through. I'm like, man, they ain't even got a name for this on the emotion chart. Or did they teach us that you could feel these two or these three at the same damn time, right? Or is it possible to have so much like happiness is literally not emoji, but it's like an emotion on the emotion chart. When they teach you about all the emotions, happy is on there. And people think they have the right to tell you to be too happy is wrong. That makes no sense to me. Maybe to be too angry is wrong or too depressed. We only say that because of what that was something I did study in school recently. I ain't gonna go that deep about it, but uh, I feel like how you gonna put a limit on somebody like voice is a form of expression. You could be happy on the inside and not say anything. You can be angry on the inside and not say anything. If y'all want to hear me touch more on this topic, let me know by hitting that like button. Share this video. We're happy that you tuned in with us again. I will be back with part 3. I'm just trying to get my whole perception out, my commentary, my reaction to these new changes in the Middle East pertaining to women. Uh, you can email us, you know what I'm saying, discussion topics you'd like to see. or, build on anytime at crowncontently@gmail.com. Until next time.